Hello and welcome to the 9th ever episode of Press A2 Podcast. My name is Jacob Hujik, and tonight with me is Mike Murphy,
Hello.
Scott McPherson,
Hey.
Taylor Severn,
Hello, hello.
and Brandon Williams.
Yes.
And tonight we'll be talking about Portal and Portal 2. Now, quick interlude. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so if my voice wavers or if I pass out,
Just laugh at him.
yeah, it's for comic relief and not because I'm dying. But yeah, we're talking about Portal 2. I guess we could start with asking down the line if you guys have played it.
So Mike's first.
Yes, Mike is first.
Oh, okay. Yes, I have played it. Last weekend, in fact. First time I played it was last Saturday, and I beat the first one and the second one in the same day, start to finish, because I have no life.
Hey.
Yeah.
Because it's a really good game.
Because actually, I was really surprised how well it was, or how good it was.
How well it was.
How well it was. Shut up.
Don't you mean whom?
Cool with.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So you were surprised by it.
Yes, actually, I might go as far as say Portals 2 is the best game that I've played since Dead Space 2.
Oh, look at that.
Dropped.
I'm glad I got another person who
We'll
enjoyed it.
definitely be talking about that later then.
Specifically, Dead Space 2.
That's Space
Yes.
Deuce is an awesome game. Anyways,
Is my favorite game.
Scott, what about you? What's your experience with Portal?
Wow.
Considering you're wearing a Portal shirt right now.
Yeah, that nobody can see.
No, they can see.
Anyway,
Unless
Not
they're
when I'm
watching this
done
on
with
iTunes.
not when I'm done with it.
Scott,
Okay,
I don't know if you know this, but your camera's on.
my camera's on.
Yeah.
Put your pants back on!
Yeah,
Oh God,
so if you could-
Jesus, I'm not ready.
If you could,
no,
if you
but,
could take off that ugly mask you're wearing, that Halloween mask.
You may be sick, but you still got sass.
Yeah, Jacob's a dick when he's sick.
Wait,
I'm
Scott,
sick. Anyway, Scott,
your camera's on?
So yeah, I have played a
Everyone-
decent amount of
everyone
Portal.
but you and Taylor Brennan. A decent
Okay.
amount, yeah.
I actually, may have played the second one first. Surprise.
It's your thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Because
What the
there's
fuck,
multiplayer, and I actually started there, and then I really liked the multiplayer, so then I was like, oh, there's the first one, and then I played that, and then I played through. So I played through the single player in 1 and 2, and the multiplayer in 2, and I've done all the challenges and stuff in 1 as well. The challenge levels and all that.
So you're pretty experienced with games,
Yeah.
in essence.
Yeah. One could say.
This is your other Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
He has a fucking t-shirt, okay? That's pretty serious.
Yeah, I mean, if you own a T-shirt for a video game, it's pretty serious.
It is.
I want so many T-shirts.
That's a committed relationship.
Yeah.
Just wait till we have Press A to podcast t-shirts.
Right?
Oh, God.
coming
And
in
spoopy T-shirts.
maybe several years.
Several years.
Hashtag spoopy.
I want a spoopy t-shirt.
Hashtag Frumpalump.
I thought it was Frumpadump. Anyways, Taylor,
Well, I made my own.
what's
Okay,
your
so
experience with Portal?
I have not actually played any of the Portal series, but I've watched someone play it, and
Oh,
that
wow.
is at least half as good.
Not quite.
Not really.
Yeah,
It's a
But
lot
yeah,
funner when you play it yourself.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
continue.
so I don't have the biggest experience with it, but I know it's good.
No,
That's
he's
very
not.
Then
obvious.
why don't you play
watching.
it?
Because it costs money and I'm cheap.
I
Ah.
bought.
That's a good reason.
I got the
I accept
second.
that.
I got the first and the second off of Steam for $30.
I got the
Not
first
bad.
and the second off of Steam for $6.
Fuck you.
Yeah, same here.
Same actually.
That Steam deal though.
I got the first one free like a long time ago, and then I got 2 for really cheap on a sale.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just paying for my sins for
But it
not
was-
picking it up earlier.
Clearly, but it was worth it though.
It
Yeah,
was.
for sure.
Um,
Definitely.
Was it?
So Taylor has at least seen the game. He knows what a portal is. Brandon, what about you?
Well, I gotta start by saying I like the game. I don't hate it. I like it. Both of them, Portal 1 and Portal 2.
But
But
I'm glad everyone did
Yeah.
that.
What?
I didn't.
Fuck you.
But
Specifically Portal 1 because of the speed runs. I mean, that was pretty fun. Like you can beat it in an hour even without trying. But yeah, it's a good game. 2 was definitely a lot better than 1. And the whole co-op thing is pretty cool when you have a good partner who actually communicates to you.
Oh, oh, listen.
We'll talk about that later. Maybe.
Okay, because I'm sensing a story.
Oh.
there's some
Other
tension.
than that,
yeah.
I mean, my first experience with it was way back in like I think it was I was thinking like grade 9 or something like that, and we were at a buddy's house, and we have an hour for lunchtime, so we played Portal 1 and we beat it, and that was it. And then I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Cool
Okay.
story,
Cool.
bro.
Not really.
Enough said.
Not really at all.
tell it again.
Okay, so I mean, I was at my friend's house during lunch one time, and we had nothing
Stop.
else to do,
Stop.
so we played Portal. I mean, our lunch is only an hour long. So what we did is we just beat the whole thing in that hour, and then we went back to school and finished, and then we went home.
That was even.
and then
that was even
I
better.
probably
I think
I don't know,
what
I
we
played some
should
Xbox,
continue
and
with
then eventually
for
I
this
just bought Portal,
conversation
and then I played it myself,
is,
and it was pretty good.
Is there any way we can boot Brandon from the conversation?
There is actually. It's the handy dandy drop from call button.
I would like to say if you booted me, I would not come back.
He would join another server.
And he's not talking
Yes.
about just this podcast. He's just not coming back.
I would
Ever.
create a rival podcast and win
Press X
every
to
Press
podcast.
B to
rival
Press X to
Olympic
podcast.
podcast competition ever. We would be rival podcasts, and we would fight in the podcast Olympics.
I can already make your logos. B for bigger, B for better.
B for Brandon.
Aren't those technically slogans? Not
I didn't think of that.
logos?
And B for boobies.
Win again.
Listen, Taylor.
Booyah!
I think we're getting
Press
sidetracked.
B to podcast
Um,
is gonna kick.
the
A's.
first thing I think we should
A's.
talk about is the mechanics. Well, the mechanic of the game. The major mechanic, which is the portals.
You didn't give
Um,
us your opinion.
Oh, my. Oh, that's
Your
right.
experience, rather.
Yeah,
Who gives a fuck?
You're right. Let's go on. Next.
I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
let's
Jacob
let's
was here.
stop,
and
stop
I feel
recording,
guilty.
and we're good. Okay. Now, my first experience with Portal was, I think, fairly soon after it came out. I heard rumblings that it was like, oh, like a really cool game. If Valve released this thing that's like this puzzle game, I'm like, I like puzzles. Why not? And yeah, the mechanic grabbed me right away. It was very inventive. Just from a visual standpoint, like it was just cool to like you could actually like see through the portal and shit. Like that first like little area really shows you what the hell's going on. So yeah, I just liked it. And I love the humor as well, which we'll get into. It was a very well put together game, and it was short, which I'm starting to appreciate more and more. So yeah, I really liked it. And then 2, I never finished 2. I played a lot of it.
Wow.
I watched Marcin beat it, but I never actually finished it myself. But yeah, we'll go on to discuss the differences between 1 and 2. But I think if we could start with the mechanic, What do you guys think about it? Like,
Now we're playing with portals.
what was what was your first impression with playing with portals? Like, did you guys get it right away? Were you like, oh, this is yeah, of course, why not, no brainer? Like, or did the puzzles really challenge you, and you really had to wrap your head around the fact that like I'm teleporting now?
I thought I gotta go tip my hat to the programmers who made this game because there's just so many things that could have went wrong, and they must have just like sat in front of their freaking computer screens for hours and hours just trying to like iron out every wrinkle. And I think they really pulled it off because I didn't have any like problems with physics or anything like that. I mean, if you put a portal over here and a portal over there on the floor, you could like get stuck in an everlasting loop between floors, and you're like, fuck. But that's like the only problem, really. It's not really a problem. It's more of a
Oh Jesus
control.
fuck!
It's like
It's
it's,
just
more of
it's,
a-
it's kind of like a
will this
design
work?
choice.
You can't really blame the programmers for
Yeah, like,
something
what
like
are-
that.
It was really just kind of like a design choice. They had to like, well, like this is the easiest thing to kind of do in this impossible situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Scott, what about you?
The idea, like the whole idea of the portals didn't really confuse me. Some of the puzzles themselves did, but I grasped pretty quickly like the whole like like if you jump into a portal from higher up, you go farther kind of concept.
Yeah, the whole idea of like inertia and keeping
Yeah.
it and you harnessing it.
Yeah, it was pretty simple. I mean, but yeah, some of the puzzles were definitely challenging as you got progressed into the game, even in the first one.
Yeah, definitely.
I found that the second one was a lot more
Oh, yeah.
challenging and difficult.
Absolutely, but some
They
of them in
added
the
a lot
first
more
one.
mechanics, right?
Yeah,
The first one was
exactly.
very simple.
But they made it better. They made a good game better. They made it longer, probably because they got a lot of complaints about it being like a really
Sure.
short game. The first one, yeah, and the
I mean,
I
it was
don't
an
know
arcade
why they
game.
made it longer.
It came out as an arcade game, so you kind of would think it was going to be short anyway.
Arcade game? What do you mean?
Well, for the Xbox, like the Xbox 360,
Oh, Xbox
it
Live
came
Arcade.
out as an XBA, which is Xbox Arcade, and that was like the first time I seen it.
Yeah, I believe it came out on PCs earlier.
Yeah, I think it did too, but I mean, typically, yeah, never mind. Never mind.
I guess
Go ahead.
we have our next topic, but we'll finish up this one. Taylor, what did you think of the mechanics or the mechanic?
Well,
Good
I
movie.
think it's unfair to ignore the other mechanics that they introduced in Portal 2.
Well, we'll talk about those, but I'm just like talking about specifically the portal mechanic. Did you find that interesting, or was it just another like?
No, it's an interesting way to approach puzzles, and it definitely changes the dynamic and how they can make puzzles, which adds to a lot of the uniqueness that the game had.
Yeah. Brandon. Okay.
Sorry, sorry. I don't know. Pass on me for now.
Yeah.
Come back to me.
Basically, just what I took away from it was just I'd never seen a game do anything like that before. I hadn't really gone into many first-person puzzle games. Now there's quite a few of them, and I feel like Portal might have started that trend, maybe not.
It definitely opened the floodgate.
Yes, definitely. And there's other games like I'm not even going to think of it, but there was other games, Antimatter, and games like that, which kind of took the same vibe. but different-
Antichamber.
Antichamber. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That really played up on those different things. But yeah, Mike, you were mentioning the differences between Portal 1 and Portal 2, how they expanded on it. Do you want to get into that?
If we're doing it now, sure.
We're doing it now. We're doing it live.
Okay. Well, basically, for those of you who have never played Portals before, first off, you should play it. It's actually a decent game. But major difference between the first one and the second one was they added in these gels later on in the second game where they have like different functions. Like one gel can give you a jump boost, and one will give you like a sprint ability, which is something that really annoyed me in the first game. I wish there was a way you could sprint, because you're like, if you're trying to run through a puzzle really quick and you're just like at a walking pace, you're like, fuck you.
I don't know if this was intentional, but I feel like the response to that would be, well, just Portal.
Yeah, but I guess like what I was trying to say was the gel that gives you that sprint ability was their kind of, it was a semi solution. They didn't want to create a mechanic to give you that sprint ability because that could throw off the physics. Like you could potentially run through a portal and give yourself a boost, whereas the puzzle doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it was definitely more to increase the puzzle options, but without screwing up everything else.
Yeah, that's
by just
probably
giving you a sprint. Yeah, you're right. I think about it that way. The other gel, just so for the sake of completeness, the other gel was the white gel, which basically in Portal, if the wall or surface is white, that means you can put a portal on it. And the white gel allowed you to make walls that normally you wouldn't be able to portal to potable. Yes.
Sure.
So that was the last gel. So yeah, it definitely, from Portal 1 to Portal 2, it was a big. I mean, Portal 1 was just kind of like a proof of concept. Just like, hey, we have this cool mechanic. Let's make a quick game about it. Let's make it funny. And then people loved it so much that they decided to make a full-fledged game out of it, which is what Portal 2 was. I honestly feel like you can treat Portal 1 as a trial run. It was just a
Tech
Definitely.
a tech demo. It was just an experiment that some people at Valve wanted to do, and it became a huge success. What do you, the rest of you guys, what do you think about the mechanics moving from Portal 1 and Portal 2? Any criticisms? Anything else you want to add to?
I think we shouldn't forget about the other mechanics like the cubes and the lasers, since those also exist and are
True.
mechanics of the game.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, you're just trying to manipulate different things, objects' weights, or just their trajectories going through portals, whatever it is, either a cube, a ball, a laser, a light bridge. You're just trying to manipulate them with the portals.
You use them as tools to solve puzzles.
Yeah, I mean,
Sometimes singular or in combination.
yes. But yeah, there are lots of different things you manipulate in the game that you kind of get used to. They're all kind of standardized, and slowly they'll throw in there's this gel now, and now there's this gel, and now there's robots that actually shoot you, and you have to deal with them.
Robots.
Robots, yes. Sorry, Scott.
I was gonna say that the turrets were in the first game.
Yeah, I know, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying
turrets are
there's
definitely in the first
different
game.
objects to interact with in the game. 'Cause,
Yeah, no, I know. You're right.
One thing I did want to mention about the turrets was I wanted to ask you guys how you felt about them in the game. Not from their humor aspect, because they are pretty funny, but just as a mechanic and as an obstacle in the game. Did you guys enjoy levels with them, or did you find them somewhat frustrating? More so than just a frustration of a difficult puzzle.
I thought they kind of actually made it easier.
Oh yeah? How so?
Well, because if there was turrets, you kind of knew you had to get around them somehow, or get rid of them. It was kind of like a clue to solving the puzzle,
Yeah.
where you would have to either destroy the turrets, or you'd have to find an alternate route to get away from them.
And the environment seemed kind of, it was a little bit convenient. I mean, there are
Yes.
certain parts where there'd be like a ceiling with that you could shoot a portal onto and drop a block onto said turret, or
Yeah.
like a laser that you can burn and blow up the turret with.
Yeah.
I mean, there was obvious clues hidden throughout the map. You kind of, having the turrets there was kind of, you knew what you kind of had to do. Okay, I need to use this in order to dispose of that and then progress to said checkpoint.
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember, at least in the early parts of the game, they're all just trials set on you. Like
Throughout the
GLaDOS.
entire game, really. That's what they are.
Really, even at the end, I thought you escaped, so it's kind of out of GLaDOS's control. Or is that still kind of like she's controlling it?
Well, at the end of Portal 1, when you're going behind the scenes, you're kind of working around the trials. But definitely in Portal 2, it's all trials
Oh,
that
yeah.
have been designed.
Well, again, I never finished it, so. But, yeah, yeah, it's definitely all just like, okay, there is definitely a way to do this. Maybe slight variation, but there's a distinct solution to this puzzle. What I want to bring up about the turrets, rather, is that I found, because the game is built on Source Engine, which is for Half-Life, which is a shooter.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Thank you.
Actually,
No.
Mike, you should know better than that. Anyway,
Valve can't count to 3.
They can't.
what I wanna
Everyone
mention-
knows this.
The engine was built for a first-person shooter, and while Portal is technically a first-person shooter,
No, it's not.
Not even slightly. Don't even.
Totally a
Not-
first-person
not
shooter.
Even, not even
Yes.
a little bit.
See, I told you, Scott.
You would
I told
argue that
you.
Metroid Prime is a first-person shooter.
You have a portal gun. Portal gun. Yes, gun. It's a first-person camera, and you shoot portals.
Brandon's getting
So,
salty again.
first-
Does that
Person shooter.
Does that mean
Nope.
since Halo's first person and you jump, it's a first person platformer?
Yes.
Okay then. Success.
Anyways,
Nailed
I feel like the inclusion, just to shorten it, the inclusion of turrets added like a weird combat element, which, while it did increase kind of like the tension and like, oh, like there's actually something trying to kill me and not just stopping me from completing this puzzle. I felt like the mechanics, whereas everywhere else in the game are wonderful, like honed to a T. Something about the turrets always felt off to me. Like there was no way to fight them, and I don't think there should have been. But there was no really way to like push them over yourself or fight back unless you had you angled a laser, which I think was one of the more satisfying ways to deal with them. Or because dropping a thing on them, while it was fun just to see the physics interacting, it never felt very cohesive, if that's the word.
it
Was that
wasn't satisfying.
Yeah, it was just there was no way it wasn't in Call of Duty when you get a headshot, it goes tink, and you get this really nice
I can totally relate to that. A lot of horror games. I'll just sidetrack here slightly. A lot of horror games, I find they don't really have that. You know what I mean?
The visceralness he needs.
Yes,
that's the word.
that's probably what Jacob is feeling with these things. They're just, it's like fuck, knock him over, and you'll flop around like a fish for 2 seconds, and then you just shut down.
It really bugged me just because the rest of the game it felt so right. Everything they did was right to a T. Like Mike said, everything worked exactly how you thought it would, except for this one thing which felt unsatisfying. But I do still like the turrets. I'm happy that they were in the game. It's just
Jacob hates the game.
I hate Portal. It's the worst game ever. Fuck Valve.
Ugh.
I'm
End of
deleting Steam
podcast.
right now.
Downloading Origin. Ugh.
I have Origin. Anyways,
I did have a point.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if I should mention this now or later on in the podcast because I do have to step out fairly shortly. But anyways, Portals and Portal and Portal 2, I think they are the only games that I personally have ever encountered where the antagonist was actually charming and likable. And what I mean by that is okay, take a game like Resident Evil, which we've reviewed. You have Albert Wesker. He's an absolute douchebag.
complete
Nobody likes
asshole.
him. He's a pile of shit. Nobody likes him. Whereas
And not even
in,
from a good bad guy perspective. He's just stupid.
Exactly. But in Portals, every antagonist you encounter is just hilarious, and they're calling you fat and stupid and slow and everything, and you just can't
And an
help but laugh.
orphan.
And you're like, I don't even care if I fall off and die in this pile of shit or whatever.
Electrified ship.
Yeah, well, I don't care. It's not a game that you can, I guess, get pissed off with really quickly unless you're Brandon and you're playing with Scott on multiplayer. But that's just one point that I wanted to raise.
I think that should be our next topic, just the humor of the game.
Yeah.
Because I
want to ask Mike something, and
Oh, yeah?
it can go to the floor. When the guy asked you to jump on the obvious trap pad, did you jump on it, or did you walk away?
Oh, was that the part in
2.
in 2? The first time I played it, I didn't. I turned away. But the second time I played it, because you get an achievement for doing both, I went back and stood on it. Just specifically to get the achievement, I went back and died.
I don't remember that, but I feel like I kind of do. It doesn't matter. Anyways,
It's pretty deep into Portals 2.
okay, maybe. But yeah,
Deep.
that is one example of the game just being like somewhat self-referential and like very aware of itself, and also just having great writing and humor. I mean, in the first game, GLaDOS, you're right, Mike, about what you said. There aren't very many antagonists who charm you
Are likable.
or are likable. I mean, some antagonists, I think this isn't the best example, but in Borderlands 2, Handsome Jack, he's constantly antagonizing you throughout the game, and he's not like I want to say Ganondorf, even though Ganondorf's a pretty good villain as well. But Ganondorf just kind of like he comes in every now and then, but mostly he's just away in his castle, right? Or like Bowser or something. Whereas Handsome Jack is like always antagonizing you, like just calling you stupid or whatever. And GLaDOS does that perfectly. Like it's just she does it with humor. She's charming, and even though she's
Very
pissing
witty.
on you the entire even though she's pissing on you the entire time, it's what's moving you forward almost. Like not just wanting to complete these puzzles. It's also like, well, I want to see what else she says because it's always funny.
Yeah.
Always.
I have a surprise
wanna
for you
touch
in the
on
next
that.
puzzle.
The co-op.
Oh yeah, the surprise. Surprise. Nothing. Yeah. It just again, the game is
The co-op humor is just as great as the storyline humor too, if not better.
Yeah, they added co-op as well in from Portal 1 from Portal 2. We should have mentioned that. Bye, Mike. Sorry, Mike has to leave. But sorry. What were we talking about?
Wow, Jacob, you
I
just
completely
died.
spaced. This is not a good day. No, I don't know what I was just saying.
You're talking about co-op.
Yes, co-op.
Yes, co-op.
So they added co-op, and obviously in co-op now you have, instead of just 2 portals to play with, you have 4, which you have to use your teammate to advance these levels.
Yes, and you should communicate with your teammate.
Do you guys just want to have it out now? Do you
No,
wanna have
I
a
don't.
lover's quarrel?
No,
Good.
Do you want that at the end of the podcast?
I don't even know if I want it.
Because you'll
Anyways.
lose. Because you'll lose.
Oh god. This is gonna go downhill really fast, isn't it? Anyways, but we were talking about the humor. Can I ask you guys about your thoughts on just like did you enjoy the humor or
That's the reason I played the game over and over again.
I would
End of
say
story.
that the biggest success of Portal is the narrator in GLaDOS, and later on the other guy whose name escapes me right now.
Dave Johnson.
Cave Johnson, and then the other guy.
Wheatley.
Wheatley, there we go. For some reason, I completely forgot his name. I think, as I said, I think that's the biggest success of Portal, of this constant narrator talking you through what's happening, essentially.
Mhm.
And they're antagonizing you, being passive aggressive towards you. That's specifically what GLaDOS is doing in Portal 2. The developers said they tried something where GLaDOS was actually a lot meaner to Chell, but test audience said that they felt really bad and didn't want to play anymore. So they changed it to being passive aggressive, so that it kept the humor, and kept you
Yeah.
going, but still
that
kind of
makes
mean
sense.
spirited.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, especially because at that point you're kind of on the same team. To be with someone who's just constantly aggressive, as opposed to like you said, kind of dismissive and passive aggressive is much easier, or much harder rather. But yeah, sorry, the humor. Does anyone have anything else to add to that, or do you want to talk about the characters themselves? Because I thought that GLaDOS in the first game, obviously incredibly funny. I hadn't personally seen anything like that before. And then in Portal 2, they introduced the character Wheatley, voiced by Stephen Merchant, and he was just as good, just as funny. Different character, whereas GLaDOS is manipulating and incredibly intelligent. Wheatley is incredibly stupid.
Incredibly stupid.
That's his whole character. But they both stand next to each other. I was surprised just how well developed Wheatley's character is and how funny they made him, while also making GLaDOS funny. Yeah.
Didn't Wheatley win like a best new character award or whatever?
He might have.
VGA? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Has a victory speech, and it's just as good as anything.
Yeah. I don't know if Steve Merchant had any involvement in the writing, but God, his delivery at least is perfect, and I'm sure he helped with the writing because that's awesome as well. So you guys are all in agreement? It's
Oh, absolutely.
Wheatley's great.
Yeah,
GLaDOS
definitely.
is great. Chell is interesting, and the story of behind Portal, like a lot of it is written on the walls, like
literally
a lot
behind
like
Portal.
what they did with Left 4 Dead, where they don't overly tell you the story until you get to Cave Johnson and all that. Then it kind of tells you
Here it
the
is.
story fairly well. But like the stories of like what's really going on is like you have to look around you and just absorb into it. And that's how you kind of learn who Chell is, what's happening at Aperture. And it through its characters, it just creates a really interesting narrative that is very funny and interesting.
Yeah, I really appreciate that kind of storytelling. It's like you said, kind of like Left 4 Dead and Halo, where there's lots of lore, but you have to look for it. I feel
Mostly
like,
Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More so.
Another Valve game actually, which it doesn't take you away from like the game, like hey, look, it literally takes your focus and you have to look at this like thing flying over you, and while this guy's shouting explanations at your face, it really just like, oh, what's that little like cubby hole there, and you crawl in, and like there's paintings on the walls detailing like the life of this guy who was hiding from GLaDOS.
Ratman was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's like a whole comic book explaining him, if you want to go into that. And it's just, it's a super cool way of doing it. Obviously, Portal 1 didn't explain a lot. It was just those subtle hints in the backgrounds in the dark places. Whereas Portal 2 had a lot more of it. It was, I feel, a lot more fan servicey. Not that that's a bad thing, but like they definitely had a lot more of it. Especially when you get to the Cave Johnson part, as you mentioned, where she's just like telling you exactly what happened and just like. Yeah.
Since when is like telling the story fan service?
Not so much telling the story. It was the way that they made a few things. Like, oh yeah, I remember this thing. It was funny, haha, which is good, but like it's not always the best story decision, if that makes sense. I can't think of a specific example, so I'm basically talking on my ass. But
Yeah.
that's
That's
what the whole
impressive. I
podcast
usually
is
talk out of
about.
my mouth.
That's probably a little bit disgusting.
Anyways, do you guys have anything you guys want to mention about the game?
Like just in general.
Yeah, like anything about like the atmosphere or a specific mechanic you guys enjoyed?
They could use a little bit more air conditioning in Aperture Labs. It's a little warm in there.
Thank you. Ryan.
Especially when
gets-
there's heated discussions going on.
One-sided.
Gets a bit sweaty and hot and bothered.
Okay,
And-
I'm about to shut this podcast down now. Yeah, one criticism I had about the game was the load screens.
Oh.
Yeah,
At least
fair
in
enough.
2. They
Well,
they're at every, like, you're in this one chamber for however long it takes you to figure that out. So sometimes it could take you like a really long time because it's a complicated puzzle or you're just being stupid. Another time they're just like, oh, I got it, you do it, and you go through to the next one, especially on maybe a replay, and you're sitting at a cutscene, depending on how fast your computer or console is, for quite a while. And it's just like every time, just like, oh, god damn it. Okay, I'm playing. Oh, god damn it. Like, it's not the biggest complaint, but it's definitely, I don't see why. Like, it's a good enough looking game, but it's not like it has incredible draw distance or incredible graphics. I don't see why that was necessary.
I feel like it's a Valve thing because Left 4 Dead had huge loading screens too.
I do remember that. That is true. Yeah, maybe it's something with the engine or just how they program.
Yeah.
It's probably because they don't want there to be any loading in the game because they don't want you to interrupt that experience.
Yeah, when you're in a test chamber, everything works perfectly. But I feel like other games manage to do it fairly well without problem.
And one.
Other games aren't Portal.
I mean, lots of console games, Zelda. I almost mentioned Skyrim, but then I remembered mammoths falling from space, so I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Space.
Yeah, but plenty. I feel like plenty of games do it fine.
Yeah, there are some games that do it better than others.
Yeah, I mean, this may, from a technical standpoint, this may not be the best example, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Hyrule Warriors, just like all these guys on screen, like a very large map, all these things happening on the sides, and everything just runs perfectly without a load screen, except for at the beginning of the level.
Well, that's probably because it loads everything at the beginning of the level.
Yeah, but it's not like it's long, and it's not like it's one small room, like in Portal. I guess we're kind of arguing over semantics, but like,
is that semantics? I'm not sure that's semantics.
It's like semantics. It's like arguing over semantics. It's pointless.
Shenanigans.
It's pointless and minute.
I don't even think it's shenanigans.
Listen, I'm sick.
I don't think you guys know what words mean.
Yeah,
Next
I've just been faking it
podcast.
this entire
Teaching
time.
Jacob
Potato.
English.
Potato, that was a good point in the Portal 2.
Yes.
Speaking of potato, do you remember the part in Portal 2 where you're walking, like you're trying to, it's part where you're trying to get to GLaDOS with Wheatley, and you're walking through the part where there's all the old science, like the potato batteries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the huge overgrown potato battery that goes through the ceiling and stuff like that.
I wonder whose potato that is.
It's Shells. It even says it right on it.
What? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Written on the walls, and you have to look for it and observe your environment.
Yeah, it's really cool. It just shows you, it's kind of like backstory without giving backstory, you know.
What was it? I don't think I got to that part, or I missed it.
It's the part where you still haven't actually confronted
Yeah,
GLaDOS
it's right
yet.
at the beginning, isn't it?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Basically.
It's when you're on your way to confront GLaDOS, like with Wheatley, like you're taking out her neurotoxin and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And
It was like bring your daughter to work day.
yeah,
Kinda.
no, that's
Sounds
exactly
familiar.
what it was.
Oh,
And
it
there was a whole
Shells.
bunch of potato batteries in volcanoes and stuff like that, and one of them was signed by Shell.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's just like it's like almost like yeah, and like all the stuff with like Ratman and stuff like that's pretty funny too. You guys know the whole argument about the companion cubes being sentient.
Yep. Conspiracies.
Yeah, 'cause they definitely. seem to
Well,
have them
there's like a
manipulation.
whole there's a whole part if you go behind one of the walls, there's like a whole bunch of people that Ratman used to know, and they all have pictures of companion cubes sprayed over top of them, showing that maybe they got all turned into companion cubes by GLaDOS, kind of.
Or maybe he's just substituting them with companion cubes in his own broken reality.
Could be. That's the
Don't know.
argument, though, right?
Personally, of these two conspiracy theories, I subscribe more to Taylor's, but yeah, they're just theories, right?
Yeah, I know, it's exactly I don't either way. It's kind of funny that there's, because there's the one mission near the beginning where the first time in Portal 2 where you get reintroduced to the companion cube, you grab it and then GLaDOS
Immediately
fizzles it
disintegrates
right in your
yeah.
hands, and she does it twice to you in a row.
Oh, GLaDOS.
And then she's like, they're sentient, of course.
That reminds me of one part where you're, I believe it's during the escape, one of them, I can't remember which one, and you find a turret, and it says something along the lines of, "I'm different and save me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one that like it's on the turret redemption line, and
Yeah.
you get an achievement for saving it.
Yeah, and if you actually manage to get to it and pick it up, it'll start talking to you, and it'll start revealing. What was it? It was
All the spoilers. It reveals everything.
Yeah, it's something about Clementine or something. Caroline.
Yeah,
Um,
Carol.
Clementine.
Yo, what is
I
this?
didn't
The
do it,
Walking
Marcin
Dead
did
by
it.
Telltale? Like we're not doing this yet, are we?
We should. That's a good game. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, it's talking about. Excuse me. Let's talk about stuff. I'm over it. Okay.
You're cold or no?
Silence.
Yeah.
Of the
Sorry, guys.
lambs.
I think we're gonna start wrapping it up. Basically, with. Is there anything you guys wanted to mention?
There's a lot, but if you want to start wrapping it up.
No. Like if you have something to say it for God's sakes.
Because Jacob just doesn't want to talk anymore, is what he's getting at. So.
Okay. Well, I don't know, like, did we actually really go into the humor at all? Or?
We did a
Well,
little
we
bit, but you
talked
can,
about, like,
if
the
you have something to
character
say
stuff.
about it.
It's just, I don't know, like, there aren't a lot of games that go into, like, that kind of, like, sarcasm and, like, how just, like, especially, like, Cave Johnson and Caroline. And, like, GLaDOS. Just, like, the
Gosh.
whole... She gets all, like, kind of, like, upset, like, at you that you, like, killed her, right? But, like, in all reality, she was trying to do the same, like, the same to you. Just the
Mhm.
irony of the
Yeah,
humor
yeah.
kind of thing.
It's definitely a type of comedy you don't often see in games. Like I said, it's very self-referential. It's fairly quick as well. And I quite enjoyed it. Anything else, guys?
Fun factoid: it takes place in the same universe as Half-Life.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Aperture Science.
Spoiler alert for Half-Life 3.
If anyone actually knows this, feel free to step in. But Aperture Science is a rival company to Black Mesa, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the quote-unquote rival. From Black Mesa's perspective, no. From After Science, heated rivals. Yeah.
What
Jacob's
was your,
distracted
like,
off camera?
what was your, like, favorite, like, part of the dialogue? Like, just one, like one part of the dialogue that just, like, kind of stuck with you. Either from, like, watching gameplay or playing it yourself, like, I'm sure you've seen the whole game or most of the game, so you've seen most of the dialogue.
I mean, I can't remember anything in particular.
No?
I was just playing it, so it's probably why it's in my head. But the part where she mentions that she found, or she hints at finding your mother and father.
Yeah.
It's this big build up to the surprise, and like the lights even come out, and then it's just nothing, and like you almost expect it, but it's just like, and then nothing happens, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But there's so many and there's so much dialogue in that game that's just perfect.
The cake is a lie.
Oh yeah, from the first game, that spawned a whole meme. I can't believe I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very popular game. Spawns people saying things a lot.
My favorite part was definitely the whole, like, the lemon rant with Cave Johnson.
I
Because
vaguely remember that.
he's just like at first, like earlier in the game, you know, he's just like, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And then, like, later on, after he gets sick from, like, the moon rock stuff, he's just like, he just goes off. He's like, don't make lemonade, get mad. Make life take the lemons back.
Oh, that's from Portal 2?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I've heard that everywhere. I just haven't I didn't know it was from Portal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I think, again, last time, unless anyone has another thing they want to bring up, we can go back, or we can go to what you'll take away from the game. We
Not
can
to
start
play
with-
co-op with Brandon.
They played, for everyone who doesn't know, they played Portal 2 together. And Scott wasn't telling Brandon what to do, so Brandon got mad, and that's it.
From what I hear, it's more that Brandon was trying to figure things out, and Scott was just silent and not talking to him.
No.
and
He
wanted
was
a
sitting
friend.
there
you
laughing
go.
at me because I
Okay.
couldn't figure it out, and I was getting so fucking pissed off because he wasn't saying shit, and he was just sitting there coughing and laughing at me
Oh yeah.
because I had
coughing.
no clue what I was doing, and it was part of the DLC for Portal 2 where it combines all aspects of the puzzles into one
Like one
one
mission.
room.
Like
one
you're doing
mission.
everything at the same time, kind of thing.
You're doing everything at the same time, and I'm new to that. I mean, I've played Portal 1 and 2 and beat them both, but I beat them and then I'd probably never played them again. And anyways, I was just getting mad. Fucking Scott.
In my defense, wasn't laughing at because you couldn't solve it. I was just laughing at because of what was happening.
There wasn't anything happening.
There
That the
was a
thing.
lot happening. It was just funny. It was funny to
Portal 2.
watch. It was funny to spectate, like just from a distance. It had nothing to do with the fact you couldn't figure it out.
Maybe others could spectate it. Would that be a possibility?
Maybe you could have gave me some goddamn fucking hints.
Oh, I did. And you were doing like the part that you actually left that you were actually doing it right. You were just like I don't know how you weren't
I know what
managing
you were
to
trying to
solve
say,
it.
Okay.
Jacob.
Okay, so did you guys record it or not?
I don't know.
Yeah, yes,
Xbox record.
I did.
Okay, maybe it was.
I don't know
recorded.
if I still have it.
Yeah, maybe the public will see it. Maybe they won't. But yeah,
That
so
much like
yeah,
the Left 4 Dead playthroughs.
those will happen eventually. I
Those
promise.
came out last year. We did those last year.
Mhm, they're out.
Yeah.
You can watch them right now.
They're on like Daily Motion or something like that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
no. Just look up. I put it under PewDiePie. It's got like 1 million views or something. But, anyways, yeah. Taylor, is there anything you're gonna take away from this game? The series?
Well, it's probably just going to be referenced a lot because a lot of people played it and a lot of people like it, and people like to reference things they like, and some
Yeah.
people like to reference things they don't like because lulz. So you're never not gonna stop hearing about Portal. It is a game that changed things, and yeah, we'll probably still feel those changes a long ways down the line.
It definitely made a cultural impact. People who aren't particularly big gamers know what Portal is. It was.
You
just
know what a
one of those
companion cube
games-
is.
Yeah, it was just one of those games. Like you see Portal imagery on shirts and all over the place. Like if you
The
go
tumblers.
if you go to a college or university, you'll probably find an Aperture Science sticker somewhere. Like it's just around. It's something people reference.
Yeah. I
and-
think Mike is back. Is that Mike?
no, it's not.
Oh. Sounds like a door opening.
No, I don't think Mike's gonna be back before we finish up. Brandon,
Damn shame.
is there anything you wanted to mention before we? Anything you're gonna take away? Brandon?
I think he's not talking.
Sorry.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm here. Side note, I had to do laundry, real life
Oh,
stuff.
that's what that was.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
We're actually
Honestly-
lucky that Brandon came at all. He's actually pretty busy, so
I am crazy busy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a great game. I'll probably play it again. Portal 2, not Portal 1.
Why
And,
not?
Cause it's just, it's a waste of space on my hard drive.
Whoa!
Wow. Shots fired.
Harsh
Yeah,
words.
I went there. Side note, Valve they really need to take out that goddamn gong in the beginning of their games because I'm pretty sure I'm half deaf now.
Stop wearing headphones, jeez. Stop trying to be immersed.
But it's so much better.
Then take off your headphones at the start of the game, and then put them
But
on.
I always forget it's there. You start the game, you put the headphones on, and then it's just like, bong.
You know, after a while, a mouse that keeps getting shocked eventually stops going to the cheese. But
Whoa.
I'm not a mouse, Jacob. I think we've gone through this before. Everybody is aware of my stupidity.
I was gonna ask,
Except
are you
me.
implying that you're stupider than a mouse? But okay, yeah.
yeah, that's
Well-
exactly what he's saying.
Well, kinda. I mean, we have similarities.
I could put it up to
Prehensile
fight
tails.
against it.
Um,
I mean, it doesn't take rocket appliances to figure out that our brains are probably about the same
Rocket
size.
appliances.
that was intentional. I'm
Oh,
just
I
going to
know.
live with that. Yeah, I think what I took away from these games was they're fun, they're funny, they've definitely made a cultural impact, and I really preferred how condensed one was. Two was a whole thing, and I just really appreciate what one was. It was just very simple tech demo, as you guys said.
Well,
But it's a-
simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple.
Unless you
simple.
just try to
Good
do
twist.
the challenge.
It doesn't have
like,
Stephen Merchant in it. It doesn't have co-op and like a 4-hour long campaign. It was just like, here you go. Here's the thing we made.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's definitely a great series. 2 great games. Maybe more in the future.
No.
No. Valve can't count to 3. We all know it's not going to happen.
But seriously, maybe this will be the last question. Do you guys want a sequel to Portal,
No.
Yes.
Taylor?
I go the middle ground. They go the other extremes.
Scott, why don't you want one?
Because I think it ended nicely, and I think if they tried to add on to the story more, they'll just kind of convolute it.
Probably why
Brandon?
they don't do 3s.
Probably.
I don't know. I just like it. I mean, I think they could have a really good Portal 3. Like,
More is
that's
better.
engaging and yeah, exactly. More is better.
And I'm on the middle ground because I didn't play it either way. So if they make another one, guess what I'll do? Probably not play.
I have
it. Ah.
I have a podcast ending question.
Okay, go for it.
I want to know, is this a first person shooter or not?
No.
Oh.
I mean, if you want to get technical about it,
No.
yes, but it's
No.
not in the first person.
It's not
genre.
even technical.
It's not in the first person
It's
shooter genre.
totally a first person.
It's not.
It's not.
It's
first,
really not.
First person, at least implies that you're shooting, to kill.
No.
Like you're trying to kill things. Like
No,
like Call
no,
of
no,
Duty.
no, 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 no.
Okay, Taylor, why don't you explain?
First
I will not be
person
listening.
is not a genre in and of itself. First person is a perspective, so you can have first person different kinds of games.
First person shooter though.
And there are first person shooters, and that's what mostly people know the genre as, or know where the term first person comes from, shooters. And I would strongly argue against that it being a first person shooter, because I'm also in the camp that I'm highly disagree when people say Metroid Prime is a first person shooter. And it's just because you shoot in a game doesn't make it a shooter. And there are other aspects to the game that changes what it really is and what those aspects focuses on. And since Portal focuses on these portals or rather puzzles that you solve using portals, it's a puzzle game. It's a first-person puzzle game. Because that's the point of the game. It's not to shoot things, it's to figure out these puzzles that you just so happen to figure out by shooting things.
So it's an
Taylor,
FPSP.
Sure.
Brandon making up genres now.
Taylor, you're, at least in my opinion, absolutely correct. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Aren't I always?
No.
Oh.
Wow. Wow.
No.
Absolutely
Ow!
not.
Just
Ow!
go listen to Hearthstone. But
Okay.
And
do you wanna bring
thus
this back up?
endeth the lesson.
and I think thus endeth the podcast. I think we'll just start going. Taylor, do you have anything you want to pimp?
I want to know what the fuck I was wrong about in that Hearthstone podcast.
Oh,
Um,
getting called out.
the fact about randomness and skill. I don't want to get it.
You said randomness increases skill, and I'm like, no, randomness increases variables.
I'm not getting.
That's
into
what you said.
I'm not getting into it.
Ooh,
So Taylor, do
No,
you
no,
want
no.
to talk
This
about
is the podcast for the beef.
the
Get
we
change?
into it.
have some conflicts going on.
Beef cast. Press A to beef. That sounds dirty.
Prince.
Um,
It's a brawl.
no.
Anyway, I have a YouTube channel with my friends. It's called Views and Throughs. We do playthroughs and reviews. And yeah, pretty good. You should like and subscribe. It all helps us a lot.
I just watched your Doom Night. Doom.
Holy shit.
Doom
What?
something?
Wow, that's not even close.
The warrior time traveler mercenary.
Anyway, what did you think?
It was good. I liked it. Oh my God, Mike's back.
Just in time
Mike.
for the end.
It's
I
like
could hear. I turned my headphones off, and I turned them back on, and I heard Jacob was like, "Okay, so I'm gonna start wrapping up the podcast," and I was like, "Fuck!
I can make it. Okay.
Oh, they're starting to pimp. Fuck!"
Special circumstances, Mike. Did you
But wait.
have anything you wanted to mention? Wait, Taylor's not done. Sorry.
Taylor,
It
continue.
was Death's Head, by the way.
Death's Head.
Just making that sure. You
It
should
was-
watch that review.
It was reviewed
Marvel's
on
Death's Head.
Death's Head. Mike, is there anything you want to talk about Portal, to mention about Portal as your ending statement? And then if you want to talk about your channel.
Well, what did we discuss when I was gone? Maybe
Portal.
I'll
That's
Everything.
mystery.
Huh?
Portal and Portal 2.
Okay, that's. I think I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to mention.
Did you like it?
Number 1 was pretty good. Number 2 was better. It was harder. The
Longer.
replayability, I think, was a problem. I don't know
Really?
if you guys mentioned. Did you guys talk about that?
Oh,
Not
well,
really.
slightly.
Didn't.
Okay, well,
Kind of, yeah.
basically, my only point is you play Portal or Portals 2 once, and that's pretty much the game. It's done for you. You replay it, and you're basically doing like a speed run in Mario. Like, you already know the solution to all of the puzzles. 1 or 2 might trip you up a little bit, like, what? How the fuck did I solve this the first time? But basically, I played Portals 2 yesterday, and I almost beat it in like 3 hours, where it took me like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 the first time I tried it. That was with meals and shit in between. But anyways, I just thought, like, you play Portals once, and playing it the second time is just, it's not the same. But that's pretty much, that's the gist of what I wanted to say, and I apologize for not mentioning it sooner before I left.
Oh,
It's okay, Mike.
yeah. Interesting perspective.
Yes.
That's more of a thing about the genre rather than just Portal.
This is
of
probably
puzzle
true.
games.
I mean, like, I think what Scott probably mentioned would be that, like, you want to go in for, like, the story and, like, to try and find secrets in it, because there's plenty of them. But, yeah, to replaying puzzle games is, unless you want to do it, like, years later, where you've forgotten everything, there's no real point.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about your channel?
Sure. I have a channel called Morbid Murph. I focus mostly on action horror genre games. I have a huge list of games that I want to play, but there's a problem with, I guess, either my video capture or my webcam. I filmed probably 2 hours of footage a couple weeks ago for Alien Isolation, and my plan was just to edit a shit ton of them and then, like, release them periodically throughout the weeks coming. But I went to edit my videos and my fucking footage was gone. So I got to start Alien Isolation
Oh.
all over again. And my wrists are scarred with cuts because I am just so depressed.
Okay.
I'm not actually, but.
Well, that's morbid.
Oh, see what you did
Ba-doom.
there.
I've started that game so many times, and it's just so frustrating. I don't know if I can put the time into it immediately or whatever. But check out my channel. I do a lot of other games, like Dead Space. I love fucking Dead Space, and I want to do Alien Isolation. Evil Within. There's a couple games that I don't want to mention yet because these are games that I hope none of you have ever heard of before, and they might spark your interest, and then possibly we'll do a podcast on them.
Interesting. I'll look forward to that.
Yes. And yes, that's it.
Awesome. Okay.
One more thing. Yes, that's it. I'm just trolling you now because I didn't have the time and opportunity to troll you before during the podcast.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate you fulfilling your quota.
You're welcome.
As for the end, dear listeners, please stay tuned.
Wait. Jacob, don't you have...
No.
Weren't you planning on doing a thing?
I am still planning, but I don't have any concrete plans. And I also don't want to think about it right now.
Go listen to the end of the last podcast to find out what that is.
I want to do a thing and put it on YouTube, and I'll do
Damn
it
it, I'm so
eventually.
pissed that I missed all
As soon as I put out Left 4 Dead. Yeah. Dear listeners, please stay tuned. Keep listening. I don't think we've decided what our next game will be, so it will be a surprise.
Doritos.
So enjoy. Look forward to that.
Crash Course?
It'll be a Portal
it'll be on
surprise.
the Burger King
Foursquare.
game. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions for what we should do, please leave them below. It would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. So
Any suggestions for cough medicine for Jacob? Yeah, that would be good too.
I have the best cough medicine. I just can't get it because I'm sitting here doing a podcast. All right,
It's
guys.
called Absolute Vodka.
It is. It's all vodka.
I'm gonna try and do it. So, have fun and good luck.
That wasn't your best good luck. I'll say that now.
No.
Gonna come
Could
out
do
and say it
better.
out loud here. You could have done better, Jacob.
I'm not cutting
I'm
any
so
of this. This is staying in
fucking
the
pissed
podcast.
off that I missed all the podcast.
Suck.